Sadly, it's like, yeah, all those guys you friend zone though is probably where they're at.
Oh.
Hey, spicy. Listen, I've been friend zoned enough times in my day.
Oof.
And
All the
years later, we have talks and they're like, I should have dated you. And I'm like, you should have.
oof, oof,
I don't know what you
oof.
want me to say
I'm
now.
I'm writing that down as a topic.
Uh, yeah, quite a bit. But like I said, I would say in the last, I don't know, year or two, I think things have really changed for me. But I don't know. Then again, it's like, I don't know. I
No,
have
I gotta.
I have
I've dated
a
guys in the
rudeness
friend
about it.
zone that I've dated a guy in a friend zone, and I thought, oh, such a wonderful, good guy. We're such good friends. I should give him a chance. And I was like, after a while, I'm like, we were always just meant to be friends. Like
Mm-hmm.
women know, not women, people know pretty quickly whether that's someone you have an attraction to, that's someone that you can be just friends with, that's someone that
Yeah.
you, oh, that man is gorgeous. I want to have his babies immediately. Is he emotionally intelligent to handle a relationship? No, let's move on. Oh, but he's so pretty.
But
Can I
he's
be?
so pretty. Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
Uh,
So I don't know. I would say too to guys who get friend zone, like, I
hmm,
don't know, it's don't don't think that okay, so here's something that I also said in the same conversation because his mother was in the room. And his mother is she's cool. She was there for like the start of this whole conversation. Um she's
okay.
cool too. Me and her are actually really good friends. Yeah. She's goofy. But
A
I
lot of interest.
said I said to her to say to like her daughters, his siblings, like, you have all these guys who say they're just your friends. Um, Ask any one of them if they want to go on a date and possibly hang out afterwards, and maybe fool around. All these guys that say they're just friends will probably all say yes, which
There's a
means
difference
which
between
means they're low key after you the whole time.
yeah, I will give you low key after you the whole time. Fine. Tons of guy friends. Every single one of them would probably want to fuck me. Whatever. Doesn't
Right.
matter. Would any of them want to share a life with me? Is the question.
Right. Will they see the same ideals as you? Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Is
that's
the
something that I don't know. I would say to them too is like, if you could see that happening, maybe that guy you friend zoned could be worthy of maybe dating. And other guys have gotten out of the friend zone. I want to say I have too, but the thing is probably only to the physical.
Mhm,
Like I've gotten out of the friend zone, but only to the physical, never to the dating,
mhm,
because it's harder to make them. I don't know. I'm thinking about a specific scenario, but it's harder to
mhm.
bring them all the way around and not see you as just a friend after that, after said encounter.
I'm trying to think of experiences of like if I've had physical intimacy with my male friends that I
Have friend zoned.
just friends with now, and I'm thinking, no. I any of my male friends that I've been physically intimate with, I'm no longer friends with.
Mm. Now
That friendship
here's
gone.
where we're different too. I have been I've talked to, even recently, almost all females I've been intimate with. For the
Mhm.
most part, especially relationship wise, I'm friends with all of them.
Yeah, relationship that's different. I'm friends with all of my exes,
Right.
but male friends, quote unquote, that I've had sex with, I'm like, I don't even talk to not yeah, guys who I've not dated, not formally,
Uh-huh.
but have only had sex with that I was friends with. We're not friends anymore.
Okay.
The friendship is over. Relationships, yes. Men that I have dated, yes. We have good friends. We have that level of
So maybe that's something that women who friend zone guys need to just explain to the guys and just say like, hey, I want you to know,
Mhm.
if we go and hang out tonight, because then what they'll do is they'll still hang out with these guys. Like,
Yeah.
and to the guys as well, if these girls cannot communicate to you the specifics. So what I was going to say is,
Mm.
as being the girl, and I keep saying the gender roles like the women has all the power here. I'm just speaking from personal experience, and a lot that I see is a lot of girls friend zoning guys because guys are kind of thirsty and they'll do a lot of chasing and a lot of they'll try to go the extra mile to try to win over someone. And I think that could also be another topic of like that's ingrained into us in courting, and people were doing that stuff for years. And now these friend zone guys know that by courting and being a nice guy and doing favors and proving your infatuation, that eventually you could win them over. I would use the term Americanized, but that, well, I mean, it was more of a, medieval, or, what, 1900s, I don't know, thing. But I don't know, courting and stuff. So maybe they think that they could eventually turn your favor by just being a good friend, and eventually you'll see, who they are, and what they would offer. Now, what I would say is, if you are someone who's doing this, at least just explain to them why you think they need to be in the friend zone. And if it's something like, you just don't shower enough, or you don't bathe enough, or you're gross, or I don't like this about you, know what? That's going to be hopefully a slap in the face enough where this guy doesn't cater, to her every whim anymore, and try to just win her favor. Like, you know what, buddy? She said something mean, and that's what you got to do. And I don't think it's fair that the girl would get to string him along and still get favors and nice and kindness, and get that emotional support that she needs, knowing I could have any guy I wanted at any time. I got 5 guys in the friend zone I could just pick up right now that I needed. So, I can wait. I think for me personally, this brings up another idea, that I've always been the chaser. So for me to actually have people chase me is like, oh, now I can start to focus on me. And now, because before it was like, I need to find someone. I just want to be looking. I want to be searching. And I couldn't really, I was willing to take a lot of things that probably I wouldn't want to take right now. I would have put up with a lot of things that I wouldn't have put up with. So I don't know. I'm rambling now
Well,
about
I'll
a lot of
interrupt you.
different topics, but
I like the idea of exploring, I like the idea of explaining why we put a man, or why I would put a man as a woman into the friend zone, and letting him know why I do that.
mhm.
And when I have done that, the guy has always been like, thank you for telling me. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for putting up that boundary. Thank you so much for letting me know where you're at.
Oh, I respect that so much.
Yeah, and guys really do appreciate it. As a woman, who's single, when I meet someone and I say, I appreciate the time and I appreciate the interest, but this is why I'm not interested. And not only does it give them the opportunity to reflect on that and grow, like I do it
Mhm.
respectfully and constructively, and I'll even ask them, like, do you want to know, are you interested in knowing why I am declining your offer? And often they say yes, and they are really receptive to constructive feedback, and understanding why they're being friend zoned. Sometimes it is because I just want them as a friend. Like I don't see a romantic interest. Sometimes it is because they wear weird cologne that just is way too intense.
Yeah,
Um,
or yeah, I don't know, just
and other
traits.
times it's like, hey, we were out in public and I saw you interact with this waitress, and it really was harsh and cruel and mean. And
Yeah,
I
it
made
turned me off to the idea of, what if
I
that
was
waitress were me?
I'd be happy to explain. I was like, I was turned off because, and naming the reasons, using like I statements. I
Mhm.
felt this way when this happened, and I felt that way when that happened, and giving an opportunity to respond. Constructive feedback is how we grow. We
Mhm.
exist in relation to other people. And when we understand how that relation impacts ourselves and impacts each other, then we have the opportunity to really figure ourselves out and know, okay, I'm not a potential partner for this person because they said no to these circumstances or these attributes. I have the opportunity to change them or find someone else who actually likes that about me.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
And you may seek people who look for, like, you may look for people who look for traits that you have. Like, I have these traits. I want someone who looks for those traits in me.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah, the Rumi poem, "What you seek is seeking you."
yeah,
Mhm.
that's a good poem. I don't know if I heard that.
Yeah.
Um, Cheers. Yeah, I was drinking as well. I'll have
What
to
do
get
you
a
think?
camera. Dr. Pepper, classy. I thought we may have this in the morning, so I had some coffee and stuff. So,
What?
but
Oh, I'm sorry. We should
oh,
probably
no, no, it is when it is. I mean, I just slept until like 10, and I was like, fine, screw it. I'm going to
I went
bed.
to church today. It was awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. I have godly friends who are virgins and wait till they get married, and that's interesting.
Oh,
I
I
would.
also have a friend who I recently had a long conversation about who is late 20s,
Mhm.
later-ish 20s, also a virgin. And yeah, her and I had a very in-depth and interesting conversation about that. I always love meeting those gems of people who have a very interesting insight on something I have never even heard of, or even like, what do I say?
To
Like,
someone who's
oh,
a
like,
complete virgin, no sexual experience. Like I'm a very sex positive person. I believe
mhm,
sexual intimacy is how we can connect with each other and
for
share
sure.
vulnerability and share authenticity. And it's such a beautiful thing that I'm like, if you have this vulnerable, intimate connection where you feel safe enough to share yourself in a sexual light,
Hmm.
fucking do it. Enjoy
Right,
it.
right.
Invest in it. Like give into it. Lean into it. Like it's so rare for me to feel that safe, intimate connection that when I do have it, I'm in. I'm all in. Like let's enjoy ourselves.
Hmm.
Um, but that's neither here nor there. But when I meet someone who's like, yeah, I'm waiting till I get married, and I go, oh my God, what is that like?
I know, and that's the thing too. And I'm just like, I don't know. Now,
Yeah. We
here's the
should have
thing.
one of them
In
on the show and
Oh
and
goodness,
ask them about it.
she probably wouldn't mind at all.
Yeah,
Um, the thing is when I was talking to her, I was like, honestly though, like where
Mhm.
you are in your life, she's completely content. And I was
Mhm.
like, I don't think there's anything wrong with your brain. I just think that it's a very unique perspective to have, and I
Mhm.
completely respect it. And honestly, you made it this far. If you really don't seek other human like interaction or um, goodness, intimacy,
Mhm.
um, and why now? Like, don't, who
Yeah.
cares now? Because,
Yeah.
like I said, I really think to respect and understand love, you might have to lose it. And I was like, at your current stage, it's like, might as well just say, if you're happy without it, go without it, would be my advice to that. Of course, yeah, but
I don't know
I
about
was
you.
like, I would want to be like, no, go for it. But to be fair to her, psychology wise, like, just stick with it then. Why give in? You don't need it. Don't give into it. Who cares?
Mhm.
You don't want that, then don't do it, you
I always
know?
find it interesting when you have like romantic, what's it called? My brain just stopped working. Romantic mismatches when you have a partner who's like very sexual and then you have a partner who's lacking in that
Oh
and like
yeah.
has no desire. I'm like, I feel like physical intimacy is such an important component of a relationship, sexual intimacy, sexual connection, and you have to be on the same level. And so
Yes.
if you're dating someone who you both really are just content watching TV and not having that physical relationship, and you really are, that's not an interest for either of you, good. You're both on the same page. But if you have a partner who's highly sexual, highly adventurous, highly um, physical, you want your other partner to be able to meet you
I
there.
really think, and I always think about you, um, on that
Thanks.
topic. Okay. Anyway, what I think about though is
Yeah.
like people need to be more open about that. People need to
Mhm,
be like on Tinder, like, hey,
mhm,
boom, this is how often I like to have sex in a
mhm.
relationship. Like, just so
Yeah.
you know, why do we got to go on all these dates? Why do we got to get to know each other? Why do we got to get to this point? You
Mhm,
know, and then it's like, of course you want to wait. That's fine. That's fair. And sometimes you don't, you know. Um, but it's like, why would we go through all the steps full well knowing that it's just going to fall apart?
yeah.
So that's another thing that I pull apart red flag wise early on, and I go, it's not going to work,
Yeah.
And one of my last relationships, she was more of like a once a month kind
Mhm.
of, and I was more like a couple times a week.
I'm like a
And
daily thing. You kidding? Like if I find
yeah,
someone connected to, I'm like, man, I want to have sex with you every day.
I know. I wake up and I'm like, look at your fine ass. Get over here.
Right? Yeah,
All
you feel
right.
the connection. I'm like,
Yeah.
And by the way, for listeners, women are sexual creatures. I think our society like pushes them aside. Like, no, we love sex. We love touching. We love that connection, that vulnerability. Yes, there's like a level of safety and connectivity that is a requirement to meet there, and everyone's requirements are different. But women are intimate creatures. We are sexual creatures. There's a way to connect, and oh my God, like if you can find it, enjoy it,
Yeah.
invest in it, lean into it. Like it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
I think I was reading a statistic too recently that's like one in three porn users is a woman, and one of my exes, yeah, uh, one of my exes would look at porn, and I'd come in and be like, what are you doing? And oddly enough, it was the one who only wanted it like once a month. So,
Hmm.
maybe it's a conversation she couldn't have with me about things that she wanted to do and we couldn't talk about. I just feel that she got enough by looking at it that she didn't really want it. I don't know.
Hmm.
But I mean, yeah, outside looking in, I'd be like, well, he probably sucks in bed, so that's probably why she didn't want to do it. That's what I would say. But I'll tell you what, you're all liars. That's not true.
Hmm.
uh,
I've had good lovers and bad lovers.
mhm, agreed.
Hmm.
Um, I don't like to have to do everything, but I definitely will. If
Oh,
it's
I
got to be
love to
done.
do everything.
Right.
I just
Well,
like you just lay there on
sometimes it's like I need you to like participate a little, please.
yeah.
Because
Mm.
that's when I start feeling like I don't even want to do this anymore. Like, I don't know. Like,
We can't
just
have like a dead
participate.
fish by any means. Like they've got to be some sort of like reaction, touching each other. There's a connectivity to it. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's more to intimacy. But mm,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
hmm.
But yeah, relationship wise, I think people need to be more open about just talking about that early. Like, I
Talking
was
about
talking
sexual
to,
chemistry early. Talking about
yeah.
what?
Well, also, I know you would know a lot about too, like kinks and stuff.
Yep.
Um,
Oh,
but I
I'll let-
think, yeah, that's a whole in itself. We could get to that one later. But that one is definitely like what you need to talk about that real quick. Like, what
Mhm.
if you're into something that's a little more extravagant? If we're 3, 4 months into a relationship and you drop that bombshell on me, like, oh, it could make or break. And it needs to be talked about early.
Mhm.
A lot of things do.
That's a
And
challenging thing because for me, like physical intimacy, each person kind of draws out a different aspect of my sexual identity.
mhm,
And then sometimes they'll enhance certain aspects and kind of put others more muted, and I can
uh-huh.
push them aside and really explore others. So each person really has a different experience. But then over time, it really started to develop like the sexual identity, the sexual preferences. Like at the age of 32, I got a pretty good idea of what I like.
Right. I've
What
had
I,
enough experiences to
yeah.
know what I do and don't like. Right.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
like I'm totally okay telling you first date. We can talk about that stuff first date. I'm open as I don't care. But a lot of people aren't ready for that or ready to talk about stuff like that.
That's one of
One,
the things that I'd love to do like a blog post on is like how to have sexually open conversations with your partner. Like a lot of
yeah.
my clients, they're like, I really want to ask my wife for this, but I'm so nervous she'll say no, or that she'll think poorly of me, or da 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 da. I'm like, they're so nervous to have the conversations about physical intimacy. And it's such an important component of life and our relationship,
A
especially
relationship. Yeah.
relationship. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do
No,
you
they're
have that
definitely
conversation?
right.
It starts with vulnerability. It really is like going to your partner and saying, are you willing? I want to have a talk about like my physical needs. And I was wondering if you would be willing to have a conversation with me about that.
Right.
And
And of course they're gonna say yes, but you're like, I have some weird or demanding interests, and I'm wondering if you
mhm,
will oh, I can't remember the word, amuse them, if
mhm.
you'll
Now,
see
what
what we
happens when
can
they
do.
do say yes and you are having that conversation about your physical needs and
Right.
your desires? They say, yeah, I'd be happy to have a conversation. Oh, man. And then what
See, and
happens?
that's the thing is like if I met someone and they couldn't even talk about that, I'd be like, well, we are not even gonna go down this road then. If you can't talk to me about sex now, like you're not at the same level I am. Like
Mhm,
I
mhm,
want to be open and talk about all this stuff. One of the last friends of mine was like, yeah, we had mine and my partner haven't had sex in like 3 months. And I was like, how did it get that far along? Why have you not talked about it? Has he not cared enough? And both of them just lacked the desire of communication to reach out and try to fix that. They were like,
that's-
things are normal, things are fine, we're fine. we've been dating for so long, we're just gonna let it go. And I
Yeah.
mean, ultimately, it came down to him just not acting how he did when they started dating, and her just not
Hmm.
feeling that intimacy with him anymore if he's just going to act the way he's going to act. Because he got in the mantra of, I'm not getting it, so I can act like this. I was like, well,
Mm.
that's just a downward spiral because that's not going to get you inevitably what you want. And now you're just going to act like that. She's going to act like that. And you're both just going to dig this grave. And I was like, it's
Yeah.
going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
And unless one of you is willing to just, I was going to say
Mhm.
man up, but it's they're men and women in this situation. But unless one of you is willing to just show up to the relationship and be present and communicate with the other one,
Mhm.
I don't know. It always comes down to communication. A lot of issues come down to not enough. A lot of people don't
They don't
ask
know
the
how to communicate.
why. They
Nobody
don't.
knows the skill sets of communication. So, like, how do you communicate with your partner? How do you how do you feel safe enough to feel vulnerable to express your wants and needs and desires in a way that's going to be received well
Hmm.
by your partner? It's so scary because we get rejected and we get hurt
Hmm.
and we don't know how to express ourselves
Yeah.
often.
I think it comes down to the why, like the always ask why. Like as a kid, you were told don't ask why, but ask why. Like I don't like that you're a bartender. Why? Like
Hmm.
what? Like
Hmm.
what is it? Why does it offend you? Well, it just makes me jealous. Why are you jealous? Do you not trust me? Do you lack trust? Do you have issues with other things? Like, is there other people that go there that
Hmm.
that come back to you and tell you, hey, I bought your girlfriend a shot. I was hitting on your girlfriend
Hmm.
and you're 18. She's at the bar. You can't do nothing about it. Like, what is it? What repercussions could that have on him? Is that's what happening? Or is that what you want to avoid? Are you afraid that that will happen?
Hmm.
Yeah, I saw your girlfriend. She was looking great. Like, cool, great, thank you. You know, didn't need to hear that, but
I really love those open-ended questions, like, tell me more about your jealousy. Tell me more about what that's like for you. Tell me more about what's going on in your mind when you think about me at the bar.
mm-hmm,
Leading questions, I think, often like have issues or make people defensive. So if we say something along the lines of, are you afraid of this? It's a yes or no question. They go, no, I'm not afraid of that, or no, I'm not worried about that. People get really defensive. But if we leave it
right.
very open-ended and just starting with tell me more, even if you don't know what topic to go about, the person that you're talking to will often give you the information that you're seeking just by
Or at
saying,
least part of it. And then it will bring up another question that could bring up you to be like, oh, okay, but more about this part. Like, can we talk about that part? And then you can bring
talk
to a conversation.
Tell me more about it. Yeah. Tell me more about what you're feeling. Tell me more about what's going on for you inside. Tell me more about your thoughts. And that really opens up the floor to that level of communication that makes effective relationships.
Hmm. Yeah.
Ta-da.
The why, yeah.
Hmm.
What makes you feel that way? Why does the things that I do affect you? Not why do they affect you? I could maybe see why they affect you, but how do they affect you? And how deeply? Maybe it's like, hey, I don't want you to go work at the bar because it makes me jealous. Okay, but how much does it mean to you? Because I have a lot of friends there now and I've been working there a while and they're really cool and I make decent money. Like it would mean a lot to me to be able to stay at this job. How much does it mean to you? Like,
Hmm.
I know you can't like put a number on it, but if it's like, all right, it's something I'm willing to let go, it does perturb me. If you do lose this job, please don't look for another one in a bar. Please look at other places first. But I understand that maybe this job particularly means a lot to you right now, and
Hmm.
that's okay.
It's that
But if you
valid.
were to just leave that bar and go work at another bar without consulting me, be like, man, I really don't like that scenario. But me personally, I don't care. I've actually always said I could probably date a stripper and not care. It wouldn't bother me at all.
Why would that not bother you?
That she's just walking around naked and being ogled at by other men. Because
I mean, it wouldn't bother me either, but yeah, I'm curious why it doesn't bother you.
to me, where does your heart lie at the end of the day? If
Mhm.
if you were like, hey, I met someone at the club tonight and I got his number and I want to hang out with him, I'd be like, okay, then there's conversations that we need to have.
Hmm.
Obviously, we aren't somewhere that I thought we were, and maybe we need to fix that. But, if you're just like, yeah, I go there, I do my thing, I make money, and that's right. I'm like, right, as long as your heart belongs to me and you come back to me and I am the center of your life and your attention, you're the center of mine.
Hmm.
That to me is the most meaningful part of the relationship. Of course, like, sex is great, but the emotional part is all that matters to me. The physical is, I don't care. Like, if I've taken girls back who have cheated on me before, and I'm like, right, but your heart never left me, and like you really just wanted to do that with him.
Ooh.
And I mean,
Ooh.
for lack of respect for myself, this was one of my first relationships, but for lack of respect for myself, I take it back. Nowadays, I might not be so inclined. Um, but it was easier because I knew that that they really did still care about me and want to be with me. They just, you can have crushes. That's another thing too. You can have crushes in a relationship. You can have a crush and be like, she's so cute and so funny and so whatever. But if you got to get to know her, or even him, if you got to get to know him, great. But eventually you'll hopefully see why that I would still be the better choice. But a lot of people may break up, go with that infatuation that they're having, realize it was a horrible mistake, and then try to come back, and that would ruin
Mm.
everything. That trust.
Yeah, the trust is broken at that point.
Mhm.
So would you, if you've, let's say with your friends that you were talking about earlier, would you ever support him or her? Would you ever support them getting back together? And why or why?
um they have other things that they talked about possibly. What I said is the way that they broke up to me seemed like there was a great lack of closure.
Mm,
And I think that whether it be in months or years, eventually you will find that closure. I actually recently had some closure with a girl I dated 6 or 8 years ago.
mhm,
We recently hung out and got some closure and had a great chat, and we're friends again. That was the only one that I really wasn't friends with, and that was just, it ended so abruptly, but it was for the right reasons. It's
mhm,
she wanted kids and I didn't at that time, so it
mhm.
was like,
Yeah,
I'm going to stop wasting your time. I got to go.
yeah.
You need to find someone who can give you what you want now, and that isn't me right now. So who knows what it would be now. I don't know what I want anymore. My life's chaos. My
That
life's
makes
chaos.
it difficult.
I think right now, a lot of things. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We can go into that one later. So
Yeah,
about my friends.
if it makes you feel
um
any better, I don't really know what I want either. I mean, I got a decent idea, I
I,
guess.
I mean, I do too. I think really is, and I think you'll probably exactly agree with this. To go into it is that if you have kids, great. Um, if you want kids, it doesn't matter to me, as long as like we both agree that we would want kids. If they were single, or not single, but if we were together and they were like, you know what, I want to go down the adventure of kids together, I think we're stable and happy enough that we could do that. I'd be like, great, I think so too. But also, if someone just wanted to stay single and not have kids, I'd be okay with that too. But what I was going to say is a lot of people my age um, usually already have kids. A lot of the girls that I meet on dating sites and whatever already have a kid or two. So it's, at what point in the child's development are they at? Because I'm not going to step in here and step on toes and be dad 2.0, because they have a dad if he's available in their life. And I'm not going to step on his toes if he's still trying to be a good dad. Now, if there is an absent father, I need them to not try to develop and establish a relationship with me to try to be their new father. There's
Mhm.
all these different dynamics with just dating someone with a child that you just wouldn't have with someone without a child. Not that I am opposed, but it is things that will need to be addressed early.
The question is the partner that you're looking at, is him or her worth it? Are they worth
Yeah,
it? Are they worth
yeah,
having a conversation? Are they worth doing the deep dives? Are they worth the sacrifice? Are they
right.
worth the challenge?
And you got to get to that point and get to know them to know, you know,
Mhm.
if they are.
Takes time.
Hmm. So to get back to the friends, I would say that they're probably going to have that conversation. They're going to have that closure. Now, that doesn't mean that, both parties are going to want to get together. Um, they
Mhm,
both talked about things, and I think that there are a few things that neither of them are willing to back down on,
mhm,
um, that would inhibit them having a relationship again. And I don't think either of them should back down from either of their standpoints.
mhm,
It would show that they just miss having someone there over their own personal views and goals.
mhm.
Um, she just wants to travel more, and he wants to settle down more. Is
Yeah,
what
difference in values.
I can, without going into deep conversation about their personal lives. Is basically she wants to travel, and he wants to,
Yeah.
set up and be established. And I think that she needs to go get that out of her system and do that. And
Mhm,
maybe she'll do it for the rest of her life. Not that, you got to get it out of your system like it'll go away,
mhm,
but you need to go do that. You need to go experience that before you decide to settle down and start having kids the way he wants to.
mhm.
So I think that um, them getting back together right now would be a poor decision, because it would be one of them settling, and it, to me, brews up the potential for them to just end it on the same terms again.
It would build resentment.
Yeah,
I've made this
eventually.
sacrifice for you. I resent you for stopping me from traveling or stopping me from
Hmm.
living the life that I want to.
Right.
Yeah, it's probably not a healthy relationship. The value system is different. They both want different things out of life. One wants to like settle down, start having a family. The other's like, no, I'm not ready for that. I want to travel and have kids.
Hmm.
And there might have been a compromise. They do sound very young, and maybe there was a potential for a middle ground. Can we travel together for a couple of years and then have kids? But
Hmm.
if one of them is so sure what they, it sounds like both of them are pretty sure what they want. So you're like, I want this, I want that. They're on different ends of the spectrum, and they just keep walking the opposite direction. They're not
Yeah.
walking together anymore along the
Yeah.
same path.
Right. And in their youth, it was great because both of them, really didn't have a choice in where they were going and what they were doing, and they're both just living life, enjoying it, and having fun. And now
Mhm,
it's like, oh, we both have our freedom now. We could both get up and go, or we could both stay. Now
mhm,
we can actually start making decisions, because before it's like, all right, we're in school, we have nothing else better to do, nowhere else to go. But it's like, now we can go, we could go somewhere, and it's
yeah.
like, no, that's not what I want. And that is what one wants. So I think in time, I mean, if they could both come to the realization and be like, all right, I think that, you really were the one, you were really worth it. Um, but I don't know, it'd be hard because, like I said, you need to lose it to know what you're missing. And if they both, what usually happens is you end up taking them back, and then after a few months, they end up falling back into their same old ways. And then it's like, all right, we're gonna go through the same motions, but you can get away with it with cheaters, especially. I've seen it's
Ooh.
just like, oh, you fall back into it, and you're like, all right, I know that they'll just take me back if I cheat again. So they end up cheating again, and then they take them back again, and it's like, all right, you until you break this, until you make them lose
Mhm.
something, they're never going to appreciate what you were and what they had.
What did one of my friends say? It's like, oh, if a relationship for him ends, he never goes backwards. He's like, it never works out. You just end up going back and forth.
Hmm.
But he's like, the relationship ended for a reason. Whether
Yeah.
you're aware of that reason, or whether it was like the great cosmos or the universe or God's plan, whatever you want to call it, there was something that drew you guys apart. And that something exists, whether you're aware of it or not, whether you're aware of what to call it, whether you're aware of the force, whether you're aware of the idea, it
Hmm.
still existed. There was something that drew you guys apart, and that something still exists.
Hmm.
So going backwards and rekindling, trying to get back together with an ex, it never
Yeah.
seems to work out.
It
Like ever.
never does. It really never does. It usually tends to come out, and you end up splitting for the same reasons
Yeah.
again. A
Yeah.
lot of it is you miss what you were and what you had, and you miss the good times and you miss the good memories.
Mm,
And you want those back. You want the good times back.
yeah.
But what you need to do is take them for what they were, and also realize why you broke up, how you broke up, and if you're willing to go through that again, because that's the more likely scenario, is that whatever caused it the first time is likely to happen again. Someone's going to start acting the same way that they did. People are who they kind of are. They're a product of their making. It takes a lot for someone to change. And what will cause someone to change is a permanent breakup. You know, like if you lose that only love you've ever had, it will cause you to treat another relationship with more respect. You know, like if that person takes you back, you may be able to just fall back in your same ways. But if you actually lost them, then you're going to respect the next one more.
I love to acknowledge that there are so many beautiful, capable, resilient, emotionally intelligent people in the world. I was like, you think you found the one and only, but the fact is there are so many people in the world. Like when you really start to open yourself up and look around, you go, wow, that person's really attractive and capable. That person's really smart and intelligent. You know, there's potential everywhere that you look. And the fact that you have a choice when you're dating someone, or even when you're just dating people, you're getting to know someone on a new level. Like you have a choice with who you give your time to, who you really invest with, and to be so selective. You have the choice to be selective. You know, you don't have to pick the first Tom, Dick, or Harry who comes your way, you know.
Or the Harry Dick Tom, you know, you don't want to choose him either.
You have the option to choose selectively, you know, be selective with who you give your body to, be selective with who you give your heart to, because it's a beautiful thing. And you know, hopefully that person can understand how valuable you are, and hopefully maybe they've suffered loss, they've gone through relationships, they've gone through
trauma makes people interesting.
Yeah, we talked about that the day we met.
I know.
In detail.
It really does. And I've definitely resonated with people who have had more trauma. For sure.
If you've gone through,
definitely have a whole episode about that.
Oh God, yeah. People who have gone through trauma and have overcome it, those are the people who are awake and who are worth knowing. But if someone's still stuck in their past, is still like blaming other people for their issues,
I act this way because of the way I was treated. No,
like,
no, you don't.
No, you
I don't act that way specifically because of the way I was treated.
You got to be able to overcome your past and become the best possible version of yourself, or at least working towards it. And that becomes the attractive, worthy person of your time, energy, and attention.
That's what I find the most attractive is self-made, is because I am self-made. I was given nothing and have had to make a lot from it. And I have a car, an apartment, student debt, but a degree, you know, and I'm making it on my own. I pay my own bills. Even though I'm unemployed, I still have a cushion, you know, and I'm totally fine with. And in fact, I help a lot of family members with their stuff, their taxes, and their helping my mother with unemployment, and just helping my family with their issues and their things going on. I've had both parents at one point in my life live with me because they needed help with stuff. I could go on and on about family and trauma, and it's been a ride for sure.
I added that to the list, trauma, of like certain topics, overcoming trauma and the value of it.
Another decent one is just bad relationships and the way I've been treated. And like people have told me like, Brad, you live a sitcom. This actually doesn't happen. And I'm like, oh, this happened. You would not believe. There's actually one story that I just remember that I can't tell, because if anyone ever heard it or recognized the story, it would cause a breakup. So
we'll talk to that about that later.
Yeah, you and I could talk about that one. We can't talk about that one if we're gonna post it anywhere. That one is not a good one. Whew.
Oh man, I've done some interesting. You know what's an interesting topic? Repentance, like doing something that you've done wrong and actually repenting for it.
Like maybe years or months later and being like, hey, I'm really sorry for the way I fucking treated you.
Taking responsibility for your actions and the consequences that they have occurred. And even though you might have acquired forgiveness from the people that you have harmed, there are still consequences to those actions. You know, people have still been harmed and damaged. And here's a secret. Not a secret, but a couple months ago, like I made a big mistake. I fully acknowledged my mistake and I was like, oh my God, I actually did do a bad thing. I didn't know that I
Me,
was
Jen, I did a bad thing? Never. I can't do bad.
I'm a good person deep down,
I know. I try to do the best. I swear I do. I see myself slipping is another topic too.
Ooh, I see myself
Is
slipping.
I see myself changing and being a little more hostile and
Ooh,
a lot less willing to put up with shit. And I've been acting
yeah.
like a douchebag
Well,
lately.
stop it.
Well,
Nobody
I've
likes
been shit on enough times that it's just like, you know what? I'm just really not willing to put up with some of the shit that goes on around here anymore. Most of the time it's valid. I'm not like I'm treating people who need to be treated like shit like shit. Like just standing up and being like, can you just shut the fuck up? And then they're just like, fight me. And it's like, bro, if you really want to do this, like, but you're the one acting like an asshole. So telling you, knock it off. Whereas before I'd be like, all right, just ignore it. It's happening. Who cares?
Yeah.
But
All right. So other comments on your friends and the story we started on.
of them getting back together,
What other questions could we ask about them?
is that that's I'm asking you, is that what we would want to say though? Of them getting back together, I
I don't
think
think they should
that
ever get back together. I think there's something valuable and beautiful about youthful romances that really teach us about ourselves.
yeah, they're definitely at the heels and
Mhm.
the front of that
I
definitely
had
like
one all throughout high school. I was with the same person,
mhm,
and like the first year of college, and then you just kind of you grow, you transition. The person that you are at 18, 20 years old is not the same person you are when you're 30.
no, no,
Although the
no,
person
no.
that you are 30 is very similar to the person you are when you're 50. And so that's why relationships and marriages when you're older are often more successful because
Mhm.
your personality is very much developing when you're younger. And
Yes,
and as you get older, you've got a good idea of who you are, what you want, your professional identity, your personal identity, your religious preferences. And when you're younger, you have no fucking clue.
no,
No idea.
and everything could change.
Yeah, it all changes.
I dated a younger girl recently, quite a bit younger, and she changed a lot. But you know, I could ask her to this day, and she'll say like, "Yeah, no, you helped me, you saved me, you." I'm so happy with who I am now over who I was then, and a
Mm,
lot of that was just me like, gauge your years, dye your hair, live your life, list do the things you want to do, listen to the music you want to listen to. Whereas he was like, don't do
mm.
this, don't do this, don't do this, you shouldn't do
You
this. And it's
accepted
like,
her is what it was. It sounds like you gave her space to be herself and
yeah,
accept her where she was
right,
and gave her the freedom of expression. And when we do that, people have the opportunity to be their true, authentic selves. And
right.
what would happen if we all did that for everybody in our lives? Like you really allow them to be whoever they are, whether you're dating them,
Who
whether,
says you need anyone to let you do that? Can you
yeah,
not
just,
just do that yourself?
yeah.
No one needs to let you or allow you or give you the space. Just take that space, take that time, grow.
Step in, grow. Yep.
Yeah, everyone should, especially if you feel like you haven't found yourself or have a purpose or whatever. Like, take that time and I don't know, find it. I can't set you on a good path to find it, but think about the things you're just innately good at and you just be like, you know what? I don't know why, but let's say I could just fix any truck and it comes easy and I have no problem with it. Like, why don't I just work here, do this? It just comes easy. And why do I keep forcing all these terrible things? And in the job realm and also in the relationship and in the human realm, like,
Mhm.
why don't I just do these things and act this way? And it just comes naturally.
Mhm. I think that's the purpose, not purpose. The best way to find your purpose is to think and reflect, what is it that I do naturally? And Bradley, this is why I honestly think you should become a psychologist, is because you do this naturally. It's a very
Mhm.
effortless experience for you to be there for other people, validate them, understand them, help them explore themselves. And it's something that you can do with very almost, I would say little effort, but with ease, with
Mm-hmm.
such ease that is honestly very difficult for most people. So you have this gift, and a wonderful way to explore our purpose is when you ask your best friends. And I heard this online somewhere, so I can't take credit for it. But when you ask your best friends, why are we friends? And they tell you, and Bradley, I'm sure your friends would go, Bradley, you really listen to me. You really hear me. You make me feel important, and you make me feel like I have value, and you listen to what I have to say. And whatever it is that your friends say when you say, what, when you ask them, why are we friends?
Mm-hmm.
The answer that they give you should give you an indication of your value, of your purpose, of
True.
what you give to them. And that's your natural abilities, like seeping through, and your purpose seeping out and going, oh, I should really invest in those traits because that's what I'm really good at.
True. That's very true. And I think a lot of people would also say that and think that it's like, yeah, you're there for me when I need you. And I do find sometimes it doesn't always go both ways. Sometimes if I need, someone that's not always as accessible, but that's something that I've learned to deal with and accept too, is like,
Mhm.
of course I don't expect anyone to, but no one will jump up. And it has happened recently. I had a loss and everything, and a lot of
Mhm.
people were able to step up and help me with that. So that was good. So maybe the other times when I think I needed help, I didn't really need help and I needed to find it on my own. But I would agree and just say that other people would probably agree with you on that,
Mhm.
is that I'm just there for them and help them and teach them.
It's your purpose, I'm telling you.
Hmm. And yeah, I don't know. I think that eventually this could sort of evolve into like, maybe we have like an open chat, not like a live thing, but also just tell people when we're going to be doing this. I don't know. I guess it would have to be live, wouldn't it?
Maybe we'll see.
But people could just ask questions,
I
that
like the
would be fun too. You like what?
I like the form. So Google, I've just today learned about like Google Forms where you can have a form and people fill it out and they can ask questions like, what do they want to know? What do they want to know about mental health and relationships and the things that you and I know a
True.
lot about? Let's inform them and really have discussions that most people are not willing to have. Let's answer
Yeah.
questions. Most people are too shy to answer.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll go all the way from fucking sex to everything with no bars hold them. We both are pretty comfortable and don't really care. It doesn't
Yeah,
really matter.
there's so much value to be gained in being vulnerable and authentic. Like I have no reason to hide. Like what do I have to hide? What do I have to be
Right.
ashamed of? No shame, no fear. Like let's dive in.
Same. No shame. No shame. I have another thing I was thinking, just
Mm,
jokingly, but probably not a good idea, is I was like, I'd be comfortable putting up like penis size on my Tinder profile. Like that might matter to someone. Like, hey, I couldn't date someone with, that size, big or small. It's like you may want to tell people that.
if you want that to matter to the person that you're dating, then yes, put it on your
Well,
profile.
I wouldn't want it to be like, and then again, it brings up the, if they really cared that much, I wouldn't want to be with them.
Then
If
why put
that
it on your
really
profile?
mattered to them that much,
Yeah. To me,
I
physical
wouldn't
fitness is
care.
a big thing. Like I'm not attracted to, I lack an attraction for overweight people, but I really like lean, very lean, like skinny people. Like men who are so insecure because they're so skinny, like I find that really attractive. Not their insecurity, but like their very lean, skinny body type. And they're like, oh, I hate this about myself. I'm like, darling, it's adorable. Like you don't even know
Yeah.
how sexy you are being the lean, skinny person that you are. Like that's really attractive to me. But people who are like really big and really overweight, I don't like that. So if someone puts on their profile and I can see that they're really lean, they're like really lean, blah blah blah. But if someone says, "Oh, I'm a big bear," I love to cuddle, I'm like, "Oh, I'm not really like, I'm not. That's not the person for me."
Right.
But maybe size does matter, but that's a whole another
Yeah, true. That's a
another
different size,
discussion.
but also,
Well,
um,
it's a different, because for some people they do like having penis size is really important to them. That feeling of fullness, that connection that they have in the sexual experience of having
right.
like
If sex means that much to them, it
is size
may
matters. Yeah,
matter to them. Yeah.
for some people
Like,
it doesn't matter.
Right. And to some it doesn't, you know, and you would maybe need to just say that if someone was like, listen, that doesn't matter to me. Be like, okay, good. Because I don't know, to get it out there though, early on, it would keep maybe the shallow ones from, you know, like why would you want to bother with them? Like, let's say you got to the first couple dates and hung out and then they
Yeah.
were like, oh, I could probably, you know, let's say someone had a small one and they were like, oh, I can do this. And then after a month or two, the girl was like, you know what? I can't do a small one. And I realized I didn't know until I knew. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for some people size does matter and for others it doesn't. And if
Right.
you could date someone, if I don't know. So but and then there are women who like small penises.
True.
There
You're
are.
right. No,
There
I
are women
know.
who like, prefer it. So it's really
And there
interesting.
are women who like big men.
Yeah. Maybe I'm being too loud. Like someone just tried to come downstairs.
Oh, you live, where do you live?
Oh, okay. So this is my basement apartment. I
Okay.
moved back home during the pandemic. So I live with my father and his girlfriend, and I have like the
Oh,
basement mother-in-law suite, and it's got a private entrance and things like that, but I might be being too loud for them. So maybe
all
you'll
right.
I wish they would just like come downstairs and communicate and tell me, but they're just I don't know.
Parents, I guess. Just
Yeah.
could you keep it down? Like, here comes my roommate.
Uh,
Hi, River. What's up? We're doing a thing.
Hi, Rupert.
Dope. I love you. Thank you so much. I love you. We're doing
Oh,
our thing.
I love that you tell him that you love him. I love men who
I
say,
do. I know we do say we love each other, though. That's a real thing.
I love men who say I love you to their guy friends. Like it's such an important men vulnerability. I'm writing that down as a topic too.
Yeah, true. Okay, so here's another thing that I've come to the realization is, and it's sad, and it was pointed out to me in a meme, but it's pretty darn true, is
What?
that women and children are loved unconditionally, and men are typically only loved when they can provide something.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I feel that. I really do. We are not loved unconditionally. And this is why we need boys' time.
Mm,
And this is why and I think other aspects, like when I lost someone, is why I say, like, I love you and stuff a lot more,
mhm,
when I mean it, you know. But
mhm,
I think that men are nowadays more taking care of each other
mm,
because we're all we got. So we take care of each other and we hear each other out. And another friend of mine recently had someone like passing. His
mhm.
father got cancer, and you know, I gave him a hug, and he needed that. And you know, I was telling people like, you know, I'm proud of you. You know, um, and yeah, so guys, I don't know, are taking care of each other more. So I feel.
A beautiful thing and a wonderful thing, but at the same time, men should be loved for more than what they can provide. They should be loved as they are.
And I
Like you
think talking about it and making it more aware will make people go, oh, I feel like, and maybe that's not true in your life with the men in your life, but
oh,
I
it is.
feel like some of the women may hear this and be like, ah, that's, that does resonate with me. And I feel like maybe I only did love, et cetera, for what they could provide: a home, safety, security, money, a
Wow.
vehicle.
No, Bradley, you're absolutely right. Like, I think one of the reasons why one of my relationships, this is going to sound so superficial, and
We've all been superficial. It's totally fair. It's okay to talk about it and admit it, I think.
I'm afraid to admit it, but like I had a relationship where my partner had lost his job and he lost this and he lost that and he like crashed his car and I was like, all right, you don't have a car, you don't have a job, you're really unattractive to me right now because he lacked the providing aspect. There was something animalistic inside of me that was like, you can't afford to provide for me. I find you really unattractive. And I
Mm,
hate to admit that and say that out loud, but there's an aspect of that psychology that you're absolutely right. We attribute men for what they can provide us,
hmm
us as women. And if they can't provide, I'm like, you lack that level of attractiveness, you
hmm
know, as a professional woman, I can provide for myself,
As a
but then
professional woman, being one.
yeah, I can provide for myself, but at the same
Oh,
time,
right.
when I look at a man, I'm like, you're so much more attractive when you have self-sufficiency and capability, and I know that you
hmm
can provide for me. Oh my God, but how? That's so unfair because we don't look at women and go, darling, you don't make enough money for me, or you don't have a nice enough car for me.
No, a lot of women will be appreciated for being attractive enough.
Yeah. And I want to be able to appreciate men for just being attractive enough.
And my thing is I've done it myself. I've dated girls and been with girls who I found attractive enough who weren't able to stand on their own feet, and I still dated them anyway and just
Yeah.
paid for a lot more and did a lot more in those relationships,
Yeah.
you know?
Want so much to think that men can be accepted just as they are, flaws and all, just as just like a potential male partner would accept me just as I am. Um, oh my God, that's such a hard discussion to have. That's such a difficult realization. Mm.
I could see it in your eyes. But
'Cause
it,
I've done
yeah,
that. I've been there.
and I think just talking about it and making people aware, and then making people like you even now just talk about it and be like, I have done that in the past. Whether or not you do it now or it's prevalent in anyone's family, it
Mhm.
generally does tend to happen that way.
Yeah.
So
Why am
I
I with
think
this person?
guys
Yeah.
are taking care of themselves more. And the more we talk about it and it gets talked about, the more commonplace it will be. And a lot of people will probably think about it differently. Like, wow, like maybe a man's being shallow because he wants a girl to be pretty, but maybe a girl's being shallow because she only wants to find a man who has his entire life together with a car and a job and a 401k. And like, it's
Mhm.
not every good man has that. Not every man was given that chance, I wasn't given shit all in my life, and here I am making what I got. I have an apartment. Like, I have a room in a house with roommates with 3 other guys, a dog that I watch all the time. I don't have a job right now, but
Mhm.
emotionally and objectively, like in the future, I have goals
Yeah.
that I will achieve. Now I'm at a point in my life where I can't do that or provide that, but am I being seen as less of a man? I would say yes.
I unfortunately have to agree with you that people would say, yes, you are less of a potential mate because of a lack of a job, and
Hmm.
how unfair that is to you, because you are such an emotionally intelligent, capable, resilient, strong man who has gone through hell and has come back even stronger because of it. And that's the trait that should make you attractive, not what job you have, not 401, not if you have a 401k or not. It's
Right.
the fact that you have this inner strength. And
Because I've made what I have. Now, if I were the exact same age, but I was given a car, well, then I wouldn't have a car loan. If
Mhm.
someone paid for my college, I wouldn't have a college loan. I'd probably have a house now. So the
Yeah.
more you give me, the more I am able to achieve.
Mhm.
Because I have a student loans and because I have a car loan, I can't have the swankiest apartment. I have to have roommates right now to afford what I have, you
Mhm.
know? And that's something that you look down on, and I know it's looked down on, but it's like, I
Mhm.
want someone who can see past that and be like, right, but I see you intellectually and what you bring to the table and what you are aspiring to do. Now, if we hang out for a couple weeks and it doesn't look like I'm ever going to have a house, then you have the right to be like, all right, now he's actually not going to fulfill on what he says, because a lot of people will say that they want to do these things and not. Quick scenario: girl starts dating a guy. He says he wants to go to college. They date for like 2 years. No ambition to go to college. Never even tried. And she's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, now you're not going to get a college. And I thought you were going to get a house, but you're not getting a house because you're living in your mom's basement and it's cheap. So you're just going to stay there and
Mhm.
keep drinking and partying. You're not actually going to go to college. You're not actually going to do any of the things you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
So that's, another thing too, is give the guy a chance, but also be able to recognize when, he may be set in his ways and it's all talk.
Mhm. Yeah, that is why one of my relationships had failed, is because the guy that I was with, he kept saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that,"
Mhm.
lacked follow through. It was 5 years of lacking follow through and me just waiting, like, "Oh, I really want to go to college," didn't go to college. "I really want to change jobs," never changed jobs. "I really want to buy a house with you," never bought a house with me. Opportunity after opportunity after opportunity kept falling into his lap, and he didn't take it. And I was just like, come on, it's right
Yeah.
in front of you. God is giving you
So
so
here's
many.
the thing is, were you more enticed by what he could provide in the future by having a degree and having a house? And then by, if he never would have teased you about the things he could provide, would he have been less attractive to just say, I am where I am and I'm going to stay where I am and you need to accept that or not be with me?
If he would have said, Jen, I'm really content with where I am and I'd like to stay here, I would respect that tenfold. But the fact that he said, I really want to change jobs and then didn't, the fact
Yeah.
that he said, I really want to buy a house and then didn't, the
A
fact that he
big
said,
thing, and this was Steve Harvey said it, and he said he heard it from like his grandpa or whomever. So I take no credit, but do the things you say you are going to do. If you are
absolutely.
not going to do them, communicate you are not going to do them, but do the things you say you're going to do. And that's what makes a man, at least how I feel.
That's what
If you
makes a
say,
person.
I'm going to be there, yeah. If I'm going to be there Saturday and help you move, be
Yep.
there Saturday, hungover or not,
To
but
follow through on your commitments.
follow through. If
Follow
you're
through.
wishy-washy your whole life and you can't follow through, nobody can trust you. Nobody can respect that. I think it was about respect. Nobody
Yep.
can respect that, you
Mhm.
know? Like,
If you
oh,
have
we're all going out Friday. Are you going to be there? And you're not there and you're not there again. You know what I'm going to do the third time? I'm just not going to invite you.
not gonna invite you, yeah.
I just
I
don't
had a
care
friend,
anymore.
what did they titled him reliably unreliable. And I'm like, oof, what a horrible title to give someone.
Oh, right.
You're reliably unreliable. I was like, that means you're
Oh,
an untrustworthy, inconsistent person who is unreliable. Like, nobody wants that in their life. Why would you even have someone like that in your life? Reliably unreliable, harsh. That's
yeah.
cool. It's just, but
I know
that's
people like that.
I do too, and I don't have them in my life. I was like, it's not someone that I can rely on. You don't have the privilege of being in my life.
Yeah, agreed. I don't necessarily have this privilege with said individual, but I
I was
love
like, no,
them anyway.
I only have reliable, consistent, authentic people in my life who do what who do what they say they're going to do,
Right.
who follow through and respect my boundaries, my preferences, someone that I can trust and lean on.
Hmm.
That's important to me. That's really
Yeah.
important.
And that's something that people, you only get burned so many times that way before you start just stepping in for yourself and just saying, you know what, I can't put up with people like that, either relationship or friend wise. You can't just keep putting yourself through that and keep running yourself thin to try to make people happy, to try to help them when maybe they don't even want to help themselves.
Exactly. It's not worth the energy.
Right.
It is worth to help someone who does change, who does grow, who does better themselves. And you go, that's an
Hmm.
attractive person. They're
Yeah.
growing. Even if it's slowly, there's still a lot of potential. What kills me is when I see someone who has the potential for so much growth, and then you give them opportunities, you give them resources, you give them help, and they take like 10 steps forward and then 10 steps backwards, and they just
Yeah.
cycle over and over and
I know
over.
some like that, and that's hard. It is hard.
That's, you think they're
Can
changing, but they're not. They're really
No,
not.
and they have no, as long as life is able to revolve around them and they
Mhm.
have a roof over their head, they just don't care. We'll just keep going down this path. It doesn't matter.
Spinning their wheels and getting nowhere.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. And there's a thing with living a low, simplistic life. I completely endorse it. As long as you can just make enough to pay your bills, you're good.
There's value in modesty, I think.
Yeah.
Modesty and humility. You don't need a big extravagant house to be happy, but you do need the quintessentials to survive, and the quintessentials to thrive, in that you can do the things that you want to do. You can have opportunities for creative expression, enough money to pay your bills, and to explore things at your leisure.
Hmm.
And when you do that, you really have a true fulfilling life, I
Hmm.
think. So it was, the topic today was your friend and why you wanted to start this podcast.
It's yeah. So I guess you had to go all the way back and say why I wanted to start is because he said that him and his mom had a conversation about how I should be on radio and how I should just
Mm.
talk with people and just communicate and help people, because they said that they really like that I help people, but also that the way I talk and the way I tell stories and stuff, they said that they really appreciated and liked, because I use comparison and I use real life examples that I've seen. So, one of the examples I was using with him that night is, I'm more of the parent who will, this is an analogy. I would not let my child burn their hand, but like
Yeah.
the analogy of burning their hand, like, okay, that's hot. Don't touch it. And they reach for it anyway. You go, they have to touch it. They
Mhm.
have to touch it so they know that they don't need it. Like they have to go through the
Mhm.
pain and they have to realize it.
That reminds me, there's an article somewhere on the internet, and feel free to search for it, but it's like 10 things you should let your children do. One of them is play with fire,
Mm,
because they learn that they're going to get burned, and they learned that that is hot, and they learned that, that's something you need to be really careful with. And it teaches them that there are some things that are going to burn you, and some things that you need to be really careful with how you handle. And I think relationships is one of them. It can
yeah.
burn hot and it can burn you, and you need to be very careful and learn how to handle the flame. You need to learn how to start fires, you need to learn how to put them out and be able to manage it. And
Yeah.
that's a unique experience, and the fact is, until you learn how to manage a fire, you're gonna get burned. And that's perfectly okay.
Yeah, I think that's good. We would say like a campfire, not like burn a piece of paper on an open flame on the stove, but
Yeah.
like a campfire. Let them poke, the fire with a stick, and then let them like, oh wait, like the end of this stick is hot, and people could get burned and move logs around in the fire and be like, oh, I burned myself. Yep. Well, what did we learn?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the analogy that I was using for him that evening, and I just kept saying like people need to get burned. I was kind of saying in her reference that she may be letting you go to fulfill this need that she needs now, and she may get burned, in the process, but that it is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were both saying that they thought that I approached things, you know calmly and politely and whatever and intelligently, and they both liked, because I think I've had conversations with his mother as well. I've had conversations with people double my age, about life and real stuff, and they always have something intelligent to bring, or
Mhm.
some knowledge, a little wisdom to bring into it, but can always relate. They've seen similar things.
Mhm.
But it's the communication era. That's where we're in, is people just need to, that information is out there if you're willing to look for it and find it and read about it and be like, oh, like this breakup that I'm going through, how do I get there? And we're you and I right now are at the midst of creating said content,
Mhm.
like what do people need? What do they need to hear? What do they look for? How
That's what
can
I'm
it help them?
Yeah. Hmm. So how do we end today? What should it look like? What should it sound like?
I don't know. I don't know. I think what I just said was fairly good about what we're trying to,
Yeah, what we're trying to do.
yeah, maybe about what we're trying to bring to people and offer them help and show them that, you know, life is easier, give it time. And I don't know, sometimes it's not easy, but finding your place in it is,
There's got to be some sort of closing or some sort of ending, something that
well,
says, thank you so much for listening.
that's it. I'm clapping that in at the end. That's it. Just that. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for listening. Yeah.
Yeah, both of those.
Smiley
That's it.
face.
Yeah, that's it. The whole thing.